Give yourselves a round of applause. It's great to see you. I want to start this evening by thanking the college Republicans here on campus for getting this event up and running and this great turnout that they've got here. Especially Tyler, Mark, and Matt. Where are you guys? Just go ahead and stand up, you guys. A lot of folks that are involved in this, and we just want to make sure we express our appreciation to all of them. You know what's great? I just left the Ripon College campus. Was there with the College Republicans there today? There's so much enthusiasm and spirit in the College Republicans. You guys matter. You are the future of the Republican Party, and what you're doing is very important, and we very much appreciate it. I'd next like to introduce the most important person in my life. I actually met this young lady in a 4th grade Sunday school class. My family had just moved from Quantico to East Park, Wisconsin. And believe it or not, I can still tell you what she was wearing at our Christmas things in 6th grade. I can tell you what she wore in confirmation class, and I dated her all through high school, except for one year that she kind of gave me off for bad behavior. My beautiful wife, Sue. As I look around the room, I know a lot of folks here, a lot of folks I don't, so I thought I'd maybe go into just a little more background about myself as I introduce governor's race and why we're in the race. Then, of course, introduce the main speaker here this evening. First, we have 3 children, all adults, and 2 of them married, 1 soon to be married, and 3 beautiful grandchildren in our family that live very close. We love very much. They're very important parts of our lives. By the way, as I look over this audience, for the gentlemen that are in my age group, if you wonder about it, living with grandma is not an all bad thing when you get to that point in life. A little more background, I graduated from UW Whitewater, went on to another UW school for my master's degree, went back to Madison, and after that for some additional training. All of my educational background is in the field of education. I'm actually trained to be a superintendent of public schools or a principal in a public school system. That's kind of the background that we bring into this race. I can think of the 4 years that we taught in public schools, what a great experience that was. So some of you out there thinking of being teachers, I encourage you to pursue that route. It's a great profession. I can tell you a day in our lives that was very changing for us. We were shopping. This was before the day of charge cards, and I know a lot of you can't remember that, but we didn't have charge cards back then. And we had filled our grocery cart, and as a teacher, as a math teacher, I of course added up how much was in that grocery cart. We didn't have enough money in our wallet to pay for all the things in the grocery cart. It was a life-changing event for us, and that it helped us understand that we should take a chance at the American dream. So I left teaching at that point in time. We started a business in the basement of our home. And folks, and the young people that are here today, if I can encourage you to take a chance at the American dream, go for it. And even if you have suffered setbacks along the way, follow your heart, follow your dreams. We took a chance at the American dream. We started that business in the basement of our home. Eventually, we started building houses. Our first year, we built 9 houses. We lost $20,000 plus my salary that year. And like I said, when you have this American dream, there are going to be some setbacks along the way. Pick yourself up and get going again. 4 years later, we were building 120 homes a year, 250 job opportunities in southeastern Wisconsin, and the business was going great when there was another life-changing event that occurred in our family. We had 3 kids at the time, everything was going great in the business, and my wife said to me that instead of going to northern Wisconsin fishing, that we should take a trip to Washington, D.C. How many in this audience have been to Washington, D.C.? That's a beautiful thing. And you know, Sue was absolutely correct when she said it's our responsibility to go outside the state of Wisconsin and go to our nation's capital and learn more about our history, because we were like many families where we were in our business and tied up with our families and didn't think a lot about our country. We had reservations for 2 nights in Washington and we stayed for 6. We started going to the Washington Monument, and then we went over to the Lincoln. And I want to just invoke your memory of Washington, D.C. When you walk up the stairs to the Lincoln Memorial, it's almost like Abe Lincoln is looking down on you asking, what are you doing with our country? What is your generation doing with the United States of America to preserve all the great things that we've given you for future generations? We then went out to Arlington National Cemetery, folks, and again, if you just picture those rows and rows of white headstones, folks, this is what we have in this great nation of ours. It didn't happen by accident. It happened by sacrifice of so many people, and it's our responsibility in our generation to do our part to pass it on to the next generation. When we came home from that trip, folks, and I was teaching math at the time, we were using national debt to show place value in our math classroom, Social Security, talk about exponents, and we started asking ourselves how serious this problem really was in America. At that point, it was 15 years ago, and let me describe what we were talking about. We were talking about a record deficit at the federal government level. We were talking about a debt that was growing out of control and a burden that was being passed on to our children. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Folks, it's what's happening again. In that, we left the business at that point in time. I'd like to say I ran for Congress, got the problem fixed, and came home. But the reality is we ran for Congress twice and lost, and came back a third time and won. Carl, you might appreciate this. We lost the second race in a recount with hanging chads. Before we had a problem down in Florida, we had it here in Wisconsin. So that second race, we did lose. The third race, we won. Folks, in Congress, we had a theory. The theory was that if we could control government spending to put us in a position to cut taxes, and we cut taxes, that would lead to more money in the pockets of people. And when the people get more of their own money, they would either spend it, which would spur on the economy and create jobs, or they would save it, and if they saved it, it became the capital that we needed for our businesses to grow and expand and succeed. So the theory was control government spending, cut taxes, and that would lead to job growth and economic development in the United States of America. It worked. We've got 6 great businesses now, and a lot of people, especially my wife, I might add, ask me why in the world we might consider going back into politics after 11 years back in the private sector creating jobs. The answer, folks, is the same as it was the first time I left the private sector. America was made great by people coming out of the private sector, serving their government for a period of time, and then returning to the private sector. Folks, when I looked at this thing 15 years ago when we went to Congress, America was in trouble. And it was in trouble because of the deficits and the overspending and the government approach. Today, America is in trouble again, only it's worse this time. Because what the government is trying to do today is they're trying to get us out of a recession by increasing taxes and increasing government spending. Folks, when we were in D.C., we understood that just the opposite of that is what was necessary to restore our economy. And coming back into politics and running for governor in the great state of Wisconsin, it is my intent to do everything in my power to do the same thing we did 15 years ago and get government spending back under control so we can legitimately cut taxes here in the state of Wisconsin so that we can become globally competitive in the job marketplace in which we now compete and stop the job loss from the state of Wisconsin. That is the primary responsibility of the next governor in the state of Wisconsin. Is what we intend to do. I know you're not all here to listen to me tonight, so I'm just going to conclude with you can find details on our plans to turn Wisconsin around. I encourage you to do that if you go to mark4gov.com. Real easy to remember. We actually had a contest to see who could come up with the easiest thing to remember. mark4gov.com. I've got details there on cutting taxes. I've got details there on how we're going to have the Wisconsin kids once again become the best educated kids in the world. And I've got details there on what we need to do from an environmental perspective to improve the environment at the same time we create jobs here in Wisconsin. So I encourage you to take a look at that. What I'd like to do for the rest of my part here this evening, before I introduce Carl, is I'd like to help you understand my reason for being so optimistic in the United States of America. This is a test. We're on a college campus, so this is a test, and we'll see. If you know the answer to this question, you're old. If you don't know the answer to this question, you can check it out in the history books. How many can remember working on a computer about a generation ago when we had punch cards about that thick? I'm seeing some heads nodding around this audience. Remember those? And we had to wait in line to feed those punch cards into a mainframe computer. Do you remember this? The young people have no idea what I'm talking about. Check it out in your history books. It was horrible. If we wanted to work with a computer, we had punch cards, we dropped them, we were dead. And you always had to wait in line to get in there. Folks, this is America. I want to give you a vision that in one short generation, we've gone from punch cards and that mainframe computer to this. I'm holding 10 times more power in the palm of my hand than that mainframe computer a generation ago. Folks, we're Americans. This is America, and it's what our country is all about. That mainframe computer to the cell phone, I want you to catch a vision. Where are we going to be when these college graduates or college folks that are sitting in front of me, where are we going to be a generation from now when you're standing here at this podium, and what sorts of ideas that we haven't even begun to think about are going to be the reality of the world that we live in at that point in time. Folks, if you can catch that vision, that we have that far to go, that we can go that far again with the next generation, all of a sudden it's fun to be an American again. And all of a sudden, instead of the pessimism that's around us, we start to understand that if we can come that far in one generation, we can do do it again. And you know what we need in the state of Wisconsin? We need some forward-thinking people who are going to look ahead as to what those jobs might be in the future and figure out how to get the research here in Wisconsin, how to get the development here in Wisconsin, and then how to get the production right here in Wisconsin of those jobs in the future. That's how we turn our economy around, folks, and that's why I'm so optimistic. Think how far we've come in one generation, and think of what the great opportunities are here in the state of Wisconsin as we look forward to the next generation. Now, I know you're not here to listen to me tonight, so I'm going to move forward into the most important part of this. Carl, I can tell you a little story. The first time I had the privilege of introducing an important public figure like yourself was Tommy Thompson. Now, I had never been in politics in any way, shape, or form, so I was a little nervous to say the least. I did my speech like this, like I was supposed to do like a good candidate, and I sat down and I entirely forgot to introduce Tommy Thompson. It got worse. It got worse. Everybody around the room was looking at me because they knew I had followed up at that point. And I got real nervous. I looked over and I said, Tommy, did you have something you wanted to say? It was not a good start to my relationship with Tommy Thompson. Got much better after that. Carl, I will try and do much better than that for you here this evening. I should add that the economy is a little tough out there, but I understand there's one industry that you and I are supporting pretty regularly, and that's the whiteboard industry. I think they're doing pretty well. I think the only person who uses more than you is me. Karl Rove is a legend. He was a senior advisor to President George W. Bush from the year 2000 to 2007. Karl Rove is the architect of President Bush's 2000 and 2004 campaign. Who can ever forget that 2000 campaign and how he got us through that? He was president. Karl Rove was president of Karl Rove and Company with over 75 congressional, Senate, and gubernatorial candidates in 24 states around America. He currently appears regularly on many TV shows as a political analyst. I understand it's 5 times a week now, Karl. All the time on TV, which is great. We love to hear the comments. He writes a weekly op-ed for the Wall Street Journal, is a Newsweek columnist, and has just completed his first book, which will become available in March. Carl, I have that right? You all know him. Let's give a warm UW Milwaukee welcome to Karl Rove.